Bandwidth for this podcast is brought to you by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com. Hi everyone, welcome back to Modo Shop, and I'm here again with McKay. How you doing?
Good. Good to be here again.
You've got some fun stuff for us to look at.
Yes, I do.
What are we talking about today?
Today there's a project I worked on a while ago, an iPod. And
what is an iPod?
It's a little music player.
Oh yeah. So you built it in Modo?
Yeah, I created it in Modo, and if you notice, we're going to be covering anisotropic surfaces.
Okay. What's an
anisotropic? Yeah, doesn't necessarily roll off the tongue. It's basically like if you look at the bottom of a pan,
right?
You know, and you see that reflective surface that forms kind of a circle.
Yep.
Or if you look at a CD, you
right.
know, that's an anisotropic surface. So light bounces and plays off the surface much differently. So
it's much more complicated. It's not just a shiny or not shiny.
Exactly. So we're going to be making a metallic anisotropic surface because the iPod has anisotropic buttons.
Well, let's take a look at it.
Yeah, sounds good. Let me go ahead and open this. Let me go ahead and show you here what I'm talking about. You see that?
Right. That's kind of that circular reflection.
Yeah, these are actually renders of something I worked before. You know, there's a couple of samples. That's anisotropic metal right there. So what we're going to do, if we see this right here, our little iPod, these buttons, we're going to show you how to make those.
Great.
It's a pretty quick process, but if you don't know what you're doing, it can be...
It's a very long, painful process,
yeah.
Right.
All right, so we're going to start off with a new scene. I'm going to go ahead and make let me go into model view. I'm just going to make a default cylinder.
Right.
Going to go ahead and delete. Cut these out.
Now, why are you deleting those? Oh, you're just making it shorter.
I'm making it shorter, so this is like a button.
Yep.
Right? And we want it to sub-D correctly, so I'm going to go ahead and run a loop slice. All right.
And that's just to make sure you get that top edge.
Exactly, because when you sub-D it, it goes weird.
Yep.
Then you're going to want to bevel that edge, then reduce the size of it, and you need some geometry to play off on that top there.
Right.
And then I zoomed in on that button. You're just going to want to shrink it down about as far as you can get it so that when you're zoomed out, you can't really tell it's there. Go ahead and delete that middle poly. So it's actually a hole. Right. But you just don't see it.
That's not proper.
Yeah, well, that's the way it's done, though.
Yep.
You won't see it at all. You can reduce it to basically nothing if you want to. I'm going to run another loop slice along this edge here, so it's kind of hard to see. Right
on the inside edge. So that gives it the control. That's going to give you the control over that curve. Right?
Exactly. So then when I sub-D it, you have a nice smooth edge.
And the way that edge breaks is going to be dependent on how far you pull those.
Exactly, how tight those are. These are the curves, and when you unsub-D it, you can see it's really tight. So if those were further out, you're going to get a much softer edge.
Right, got it.
All right, and you're going to want to make a new material. Let's call it Aniso Metal. And go to your shader tree. And because it's a metallic surface, we're just going to crank our specularity and our reflection up. Okay. We're going to go ahead and tint this really quick. Basically, I'm tinting the reflective surface to be more of a metal color. Get rid of diffuse.
Well, that's one of the things with the metal, of course, is that there is a color in the reflection.
Exactly.
You know, it's going to take on whatever that. It's going to be similar to the diffuse color, right?
Yeah.
Or it's going to have. There's not going to be much diffuse in it because it's reflective.
Yeah. Usually, reflective has very little diffuse.
Very little. It's a yeah.
So once that's done, so yeah, that's how you would get tinted metals, for example. You know, anodized metals. Is to tint the specular and the reflection. Right. Turn blurry reflections on. This is just a quick preview of what we got going on, right? And that doesn't reflect how we want it to. Right. We're going to want to crank our roughness all the way up so we can really see what's going on there. Right. The reason why for that will make sense in a minute. Okay, and then you're going to want to turn on anisotropic surface, this little button right here. Right. And let's go ahead and crank it all the way up to 100. Go to our render port, and it doesn't work. right?
This is where the trouble begins.
This is where the trouble begins. What am I
turned it on. What did it do?
What did
exactly.
it do? And you want it's difficult for some people to get predictable results. Well, it comes into it's basically the UV map. You have to have a custom UV map for it. So a little trick here. Basically, you're going to go to the UV. Go to UV map. We'll make a new one called Aniso. And there's one little trick here that you have to make sure you do this, otherwise it won't work correctly. I just selected that middle.
That magic middle that you never see, but it was there.
But it's there, you see it? And for now, I'm just going to scooch it up just a little bit, like that.
He's getting tricky.
Yeah, and I'll have to show you, I'll tell you about why in a second. Then basically you select all your polys and you project from view. Click in the
and this is for looking from the front.
Right. This is actually looking
from the side. Either way.
Yeah. And what you'll see is you see a little bit of a gap there. That that little space in there is actually telling the Aniso how to work. If that wasn't there and that was completely flat, it wouldn't work.
It doesn't know where it doesn't work.
It doesn't know what direction to put that in.
Yeah.
It's really interesting the way they've implemented it. So let's go back to our render port and go into Aniso Metal. And we will basically right here where it says UV map none.
Right.
I'm going to assign it my new UV.
Wow.
Look at that. All right. And then if you turn it actually down a little bit, you'll probably get more play on those lights. So you get some light feedback.
Fantastic.
Isn't that beautiful? And then you would take that in. Let's go ahead and reduce it down because I know my iPod is much smaller. Let's see if I can get it. Let's reduce that button down. Zoom in. And I can
see that little hole.
I'll reduce it down later.
But you could make that little hole a lot smaller. That would be the key to the operation.
Yeah, you can basically make it infinitesimal so you don't see it. I didn't do it this time, but that's what you're going to want to do.
It's my job, to give him a hard time.
Exactly. Once in a while. Okay, so then I basically just pasted that in there.
Right.
And you can see if I zoom in. Here we get live feedback, and we get a nice Aniso button.
So the real key there is just that little tuck, that little pull up, to just give it that to give it the guidance that it needs to be able to put that together. I would have that probably didn't come immediately.
No. Actually, I've done it quite a few times, and I didn't realize. I thought you could just do a straight UV projection, and I was just getting a solid flat reflection except for on the edge. And you just got to move that up. One thing I didn't do here, you're going to want to do later. If you move it up, just move it back down when you're done. If you want to be precise, So you just move it up, set the UV, and then push it right back down. And push it right back down. Yeah, exactly. When you're done with it. So
wow, that's interesting. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much.
No problem.
And so you can get, of course, more of this at pixelcore.tv, or you can also go here and to get more information. And we'll see you on the next Modo Shop.